Centuries ago, when merchants set out along the Silk Road, they thought they were only carrying goods, like silk, spices, and gold. But in truth, they carried something far more precious: their ideas, their stories, and their beliefs. Through the Silk Road, paper making and early astronomy traveled from China to the Middle East. And while Buddhism moved from India into China, Islam was spreading across Southern East Asia. Even everyday things, like recipes and customs, they traveled quietly, shaping cultures along the way. And it's not so different today. News, social media, or even when you're just chilling with your friends, it's the same impulse that drove those travelers centuries ago. Only now, it can reach further and affect more people than ever before. So why do we feel the urge to share? And what happens when this natural instinct is manipulated? To understand where this urge comes from, we have to leave behind everything we rely on today, like the internet and even written languages, and go back to a time when sharing meant survival, for both you and your tribe. Anthropologists argue that what made Homo sapiens unique wasn't raw brain size. In fact, Neanderthals had slightly larger brains on average. But what gave us the edge was our ability to connect, to build vast, interconnected social networks, where information could accumulate and spread. In smaller, isolated groups, an individual's intelligence dies with them. But in large, connected groups, every insight is added to a growing a reservoir of shared wisdom, a knowledge that survives, compounds, and multiplies. So sharing may in fact be the reason we are the last humans standing. Eventually, we found ways to make what we shared last beyond a single conversation. First with cave paintings, then clay tablets and scrolls, and finally the printing press. Suddenly, sharing was no longer one-to-one. It became one to thousands. Revolutions unfolded, literacy spread, and science advanced as ideas traveled further and faster. Radio and then television took this even further. For the first time, entire nations could hear the same story at the same moment.
And here it is, the greatest advance in television since color television itself.
Then came the internet, and suddenly anyone could share with everyone. By 2022, people were uploading over 500 hours of videos to YouTube every single minute. And by 2025, more than 350,000 tweets were sent every minute, and most of them being from just active users. Which brings us to the twist. While we all feel the urge to share, most of us are just consumers. The 1991 rule captures it perfectly. About 90% of users are just lurkers, 9% engage by liking or commenting, and only 1% creates original content. That means the vast majority of information and content circulating online is recycled, the same ideas, memes, and headlines, traveling from person to person and gaining momentum, not because they're accurate, but because they're easy to share. And when the same narratives are repeated over and over again, they gain the illusion of truth. Emotions are amplified and biases are reinforced. In a sense, this recycling of content can create the effect of a digital dictatorship, not by force, but through repetition, where the stories that we see most often come to define what we believe. So if most of what we see online is recycled, why do certain stories take off while others fade into oblivion? What makes people click, like, and share? To understand that, we need to look at the forces driving our urge to share. Tucker Max boiled it down to one word: status. Sharing something valuable raises your standing. If you recommend a book, you look smart. If you share a funny video, you're fun. If you break news, you're in the know. Jonah Berger in Contagious adds another key: emotion. When we care, we share. Happiness spreads. outrage spreads. And in fact, anger is even more viral than joy. In his research, where he analyzed nearly 7,000 New York Times articles, he found that emotionally charged content, especially that which evokes high arousal emotions like anger, is more likely to be shared. Combine status and emotion, and you've got the engine of virality. Brands knew this, so do political campaigns. Sharing becomes not just survival, but manipulation. Entire industries are built on hijacking our urge to share. In essence, it's the same human instinct that helped our species survive by passing vital knowledge. Our drive to transmit and connect is now being hijacked, and at a massive scale, shaping what we believe and even how we see the world.